So, good morning, Karen. This morning I'm joined start that again, shall I? Put my teeth in. I'm not joined by or with or anything. I'm joined by here with Karen Crowhurst, who is massively into decluttering. So, Karen, tell us about what you do.
Good morning. Thank you for inviting me here today. It's lovely. I do decluttering and I actually feel like I've got the best job in the world, really, because people feel so much lighter when they can let go of things that they've been hanging on to, but they don't know why they've been hanging on to it. And then suddenly the rooms are clearer and you've only got 3 of something instead of 33 of something, and life is a whole lot easier. So yes, it's just great to be there for people.
Yeah.
What
a lovely job. What a lovely job to help people let go of stuff that's kind of dragging them down and holding them back.
Yeah, people don't often know why they feel unhappy or discontent with their life. And then they start to look at their environment and then they go, but I can't get rid of that because it's, my deceased parents' paperwork or whatever,
Yeah.
It was how
did you get into it? What motivated you to go into this area of work?
Wow, quite a long story. In 2018 in January, I was kind of at a very, very low point in my life. At the end of 2017, I had just literally finished my career of 31 years of selling. So I guess I woke up in January and went, what do I do now? And I was so lost. By that point, I'd been in the house about 5 years, and I was aware that I had quite a few things stashed away in various nooks and crannies. Given that my house is very, very small bungalow, so there's no upstairs, there's no extension, there's no basement, nothing. But being quite organized as a sales rep, you naturally get that way because you have to know who you're going to see, where you're seeing them, what you're going to talk about. Because how many times did I rock up outside somebody's business practice and go, what am I supposed to be doing here today? Well, I was in my head, it was the last meeting, and I remember the one before, and somehow I'd managed to skip a meeting. It's like, no, we did that last time. Like, oh God,
you have to be organized, don't you, when you're dealing with
people? You have
to be organized.
And so I started looking at my bedroom, mostly where I keep all my clutter, and I was just so overwhelmed with it, and I just couldn't understand why I was overwhelmed. It just didn't make sense. I knew that I was organized, but why was I struggling? I just didn't know. And then I realized I was an emotional hoarder. Certain things, like most people, had happened in my life, and that meant I couldn't have children. So what I did was I emotionally hoarded any sort of document that said Karen was alive, that I'd been to the theatre, that I'd been in a show, that I'd been to a wedding, funeral, that sort of thing. Any sort of documentation. And don't even ask about bills. Anything that had my name on it, I'd kept. And
profound. What a profound realization that you're trying to make sure that somebody knows you were on this earth by keeping all these bits of paper.
Yeah. I'm not alone. I'm not the only person in the world to have gone through quite a difficult life. It's certainly not an easy life when you spend it on the road, going out and about, meeting people. Although I love that sort of thing, it's never easy because you're never in one place, you're never static, you haven't got things around you that you need, so it's always a
quite a transient way to live your life.
I was just about to say that word. Yes.
Yeah.
So it just came as a horrific shock that I was a hoarder, an emotional hoarder. And I thought, I can't believe this. But later on, once the shock went a little bit, then I realized actually why I had so much stuff was because I was an organized hoarder. So I packed things carefully and, you know, frugally with the space, and ended up with loads.
Wow. So all boxed and nicely, neatly stacked and everything.
Everything.
But still hoarding.
But still hoarding. Yeah.
So what did you do then? So you realized, you had this realization, this revelation. What happened?
It was massive. It's absolutely massive. And I don't know how the word came into my head, but I knew that I needed to get rid of some of this stuff. And I knew that it's going to be hard because it had my name on it and everything. And then suddenly this word of decluttering came into my head. And so I started to look it up and explore about it. And I thought, oh, okay. And it was much later, so like this time, March, that I started to think about the possibility of following that idea as a career. Like I said at the beginning, you know, my career had finished, and it's for 31 years. It's a really long time, and didn't know what to do with myself, you know.
A really significant, pivotal, emotional moment.
Absolutely. It was, yeah, it's, I guess, looking back now, you know, it's been 4 years. So these are sort of 4 key years of personal development and growth, and designed to, you know, let all that emotions that I've been hanging on to go back, to go, you know, come to terms with and deal with. So yeah.
I think people often think when you say the word decluttering, they just think about it as a physical thing, but actually decluttering is so tied up with our mental state.
Absolutely.
And allowing ourselves the space in our reducing our mental load and allowing us the space to actually grow into the human we might want to become.
In theory, the one that we were supposed to be before we sort of fell into the regular life.
The habits.
Yeah. But yes, declutter. So at that point that, you know, I started to think, and because, you know, my job had finished, I didn't know what to do. And, you know, eventually by kind of April, May, that I realized I'd like to start my own company. And I started it in June, and I started it on the anniversary of a car accident that we had. And it was very close call because we got hit by a drunk driver.
Oh, wow.
And this van, a glazing van, hit my car twice, and I was just sitting by the side of the road. We'd gone to get fish and chips, and, you know, didn't know fish and chips were so dangerous.
No, who knew?
Who knew?
Who knew? Be careful, people.
Exactly.
Fish and chips can be risky.
You know, it's something that you do 100 times, and just out of the blue, the van come hurtling up the hill, and lost control, bashed into my car, and nearly took us out with it. So wow. So when the anniversary came around on the 16th of June, I wanted to mark it in a positive way and say, like, this is my start. This is my start of decluttering. So.
Yeah, brush with death.
I've had quite a few of those, so don't worry.
I think most of us have. Some of us don't even realise we're having brushes with death all the time, do we? And,
yeah,
you know, it's just happened. Absolutely. And you just haven't even realised. But yeah, brush with death and a change of career were very significant for you by the sounds of it.
Definitely. Yeah, it's been a very busy few years before 18.
And then a pandemic. Just chuck a pandemic in there as well.
Yeah, that was a couple of years later. But yes, so like you said earlier about, I thought at that time decluttering was only, like you said, about the physical things. But as I've got into it now, over the years, I've realized quite quickly that it was actually not really about, it is a physical, but it's about the wanting and the desire to hold on to things. And so it's
control, bit of control.
Yes, I guess it's control is the opposite of not letting go, isn't it?
Yeah.
You know, but when at the end of 2018, I went to a networking meeting, you know, because I realized and was told that now as a small business, I had to get out and about, which was fine. I love going out and about and meeting people. I mean, I've had a social career for forever, haven't I?
Yeah.
You know, so that bit wasn't hard. But, you know, early days of getting a business off the ground, how difficult could that be? It's hideous, isn't it? It is absolutely hideous getting a business off the ground. And I went to this networking meeting and I talked about what I do, and I was very emotional, and this lovely lady said to me, have you thought about tapping for your clients? And I said, no, I hadn't. And that meeting at the end of 18 really changed my life again, because I had learned, I've been going to a practitioner for EFT, which is called, you know, people called tapping. And I've got a picture here that just shows you the points of tapping. I thought that was a good idea, you know, because it is about the overwhelm. It's, you know, if you just have to look about outside, you go to town, you go past billboards, you go past advertising all the time, and it's saying buy this, buy that, buy me, you know, and it is overwhelming because we want to do this, we want to do that, and then we take it home and we realize there's no life, no room in the home, you know.
Yeah. As a salesperson, you know, that also was a massive part of your life, wasn't it? It's like you're actually selling stuff to people. I was having this conversation with some people this morning when they were talking about Hoovers, and they said, oh, I used to have a Miele, but now I have a Dyson. I'm not quite sure why I changed. And I said, oh, that's marketing. You changed because of marketing, and for no other reason. We're literally in a world that is absolutely surrounded all the time with messaging to get us to do stuff.
And the good thing or the bad thing is literally we could have anything. We can have anything and everything we desire. There's no reason that stops us.
No, there's no limitations.
Budget, or
yeah.
desire, you know. How many of us get rid of a perfectly acceptable sofa or suite to get the next sofa or suite? How many of us change our clothes from one season's fashion to the next season's fashion?
We are consumers, aren't we? We have been made into consumers, and consumers of stuff.
I love that word.
Consumers of stuff. And it's not very sustainable. It's not good for our mental health. It's not good for our financial health.
Definitely.
And it's not good for the world either.
No.
And it's quite recent, isn't it? It's probably since this end of Second World War, I think we've become kind of consumers, haven't we?
Definitely, yeah. And you could say that I was a game teacher turned poacher, couldn't you? Because I guess in those days I didn't really understand this end of the spectrum, you know, because I was just doing my job, trying to meet my targets, keep paying the mortgage, and keep all the plates spinning. So I never kind of realized it was just it was just my career, you know.
Absolutely. We don't do it until we kind of step back. And, the same with me. I mean, I worked for Coca-Cola. I was really sold my soul to the devil. selling fizzy water to mothers, you know.
Yeah.
I've got a big penance to pay for that over the rest of my life. I really have. But until you kind of take a step back and step off that cycle, as you say, you don't realize things like, people say things like tapping, they say things like meditation to you, they say things like mindfulness, and you're like, what
the hell's that?
I've just been on KPIs and you know, and goals, and you know, and financial targets. That's what I've been working on. And no one told me this thing about tapping and energy, managing your energy.
Absolutely.
And you know, like you know, I had to stand back and suddenly see the world through quite in a different bubble. We have to come out of that bubble and go into a different bubble, don't we? And you did that. You came out of that sales bubble and went into a different bubble. And tapping, I've tried tapping. I think it's great.
Oh, you enjoyed it? That's great.
Yeah. So do you use that now? You use that yourself personally as well as for clients?
I am now a qualified EFT practitioner. So I'm now running that as another small business. I've got a list actually of about 6 businesses that I run.
She just wasn't content with one, because that wasn't enough hell for Karen. She thought she'd do it another 6 times.
Starting business is hell. I was not prepared at all. It was so difficult. I just felt like a fish out of water. I felt overwhelmed, and it was just like, what on earth do I do now? You know,
it is hard, and I think it's really important to be honest about that. And as you grow your business as well, and you have to kind of take on systems so you can declutter your admin and reduce your mental loads, and you have to take on people, that becomes even more another type of hell, because you know, you're now responsible for other people as well. So you're cluttering your life with other people as well as staff. It's hard work.
It is very hard work. I've been helped by a lot of people, and I hope this is not too controversial, but I've also been helped by spirit. During my regular career of selling, I developed an interest in mediumship and healing, and I became a healer in 2006, and I used to regularly do my healing in church. And but sometimes the world got in the way, because where I worked was 10 miles to the church. But do you think I could get there in less than 2 hours? Not with London traffic. It was always a challenge. So I always try to go as much as I could. But, you know, it's a bit impractical when you arrive steaming at church because you've spent 2 hours to drive 10 miles. And when I moved here in 2013 to Hastings, I made sure that there was a local church that I could go to and carry on doing my healing. I mean, I think I was just so naive that I thought when I got here, it would just be, I'm so foolish to say this, but I just thought it'd be like London, you know, that I could pick up my career and have my cake and eat it and go and do my spiritual things that I like doing as well, you know. And of course, when you live at the seaside, it's not like that. There's not so much industry, not so much employment, so everything becomes a bigger compromise.
When did you move from London to Hastings?
2013.
Okay, so you've been down here a while, nearly 10 days.
Yes, coming up, isn't it? It's a bit crazy. But yes, I came to Hastings. The joke is I came to Hastings on Halloween. So I said I flew into Hastings on my birthday.
When I came down to Hastings, so I grew up around here, but I moved away, and then I moved back because of my parents, and I brought my husband, who grew up in North London, to Hastings on Halloween. That was his first experience of Hastings, was on Halloween. He just walked around going, no one is ever going to believe me when I tell them what is going on here. And there were stilt walkers and fire breathers, and everyone was dressed up, as they always are in Hastings, because we love any opportunity to dress
love
up.
an occasion. Absolutely.
We love an event.
Absolutely.
And he was just wide. I had never seen anything like it in his life. He was astonished.
So he was North London, was he?
North London, yeah. So Pinner and that area.
Oh my goodness, you're just down the road. I come from Hillingdon.
He was born in Hillingdon. He was born
really?
in Hillingdon Hospital. Yeah. He was born in Hillingdon Hospital, yeah.
That was all my siblings, but I wasn't.
Oh, well, there you go. So we have a connection there. But yes, he was absolutely, and he arrived on Halloween as well. So how funny is that? From North, well, we weren't living in North London at that point. We were living in Buckinghamshire, just outside Oxford. But right. Yeah, he had never experienced anything like Hastings. Hastings is a special place.
It is, definitely.
And it's a wonderful place. I have to say, I mean, it's been a wonderful place for me to run a business, but as you quite rightly say, it's not London. So there are less people, London. There is less industry, there is less money, and you have to be more resilient and more resourceful to run a business. I think if you can run a business in Hastings, you can run it anywhere.
I guess so. I never thought about that until just now when you said it. And it's like, yeah, it's extremely tough.
It is. Yeah, you have to be resourceful.
Well, that's why I've got 6 jobs on the run to go. I do part-time caring. You know, I do lots of my own businesses as well.
But the decluttering is something that you do in combination with these businesses, or as a standalone? Let Stuff Go, I know, is one of the businesses that I became to know you about.
Yeah. My business is called Let Stuff Go. Here's my t-shirt.
Let Stuff Go.
And as I explained earlier, I just thought it was decluttering that I wanted to do. I didn't understand the brain side of it until much later. So I was talking about spirituals, wasn't so I went to an event for my church, and my lovely colleague from church gave me a reading, and she suggested I start a club, and it was to be called the Clutter Club. So this is now in September of 2018. No, July, I think. But I got it going by September. And I think a lot of my early development with the decluttering was very aided and assisted by having the Clutter Club, because people wanted to know what it was all about. And so people came along, and I could demonstrate decluttering tips and processes and
strategies and such like.
Yes, thank you. Yeah, that's the word. And I realized that people needed to talk about clutter, because it's not so bad now, but then 4 years ago, it was very much a stigma that, I don't know, it was something, if you had to be ashamed of, because, and over the period of time, I kept thinking, why is everybody treating it so badly? Why do you have to be ashamed if you've got clutter? And I honestly didn't realise the commercial link between the two, of how motivated we were by advertising, etc. So, and it was like, oh, that explains it, you know, if we all
we're all meant to be living in these perfect houses, aren't we, now, that are all kind of like minimal and grey.
Yes, but an artful.
Yeah, like, I mean, I'm an art curator. Again, oh my goodness, my penance is large, isn't it? But I don't advocate white boxes, for sure. I don't live in a white box either, so that's not something I advocate.
No, I just live in a very, very small box, and this room is yellow.
I think you should live in a place that makes you fit, that uplifts you and empowers you. Whatever that looks like to you is fine.
Yeah, that's right. So that was, you know, the Clutter Club really aided the spreading of awareness of.
So the Clutter Club, was the Clutter Club online, or was it in physical form, like meeting in?
Because you threw in the COVID word. Yes. Yes, up until COVID, it was in physical form. A lovely lady's house in Hastings, St Leonard's, who had a community hub coming from her house. So that was great. The surroundings were very sumptuous, lovely big house, garden, etc., etc. And it just made a really good venue for the club. And it was brilliant. I loved it. You know, those are my glory days. So we celebrated a year in 19 September. Yeah, so I just got really complacent about the Clutter Club and thought we're always going to be meeting there. And of course, along came COVID, and suddenly the house was not working as a hub because nobody was coming out. And the poor lady had to close her business.
Oh, goodness.
So we couldn't go back there. So I've struggled on and off. So during COVID, we were online on Zoom, which is obviously a blessing by then, because I feel that just talking about why you keep things and why you can't even face looking at them is so important, you know. Because houses are a physical space, you know, they're not always growing, are they? They're fixed. They are how big they are. And our job in life is to make the best use of the space inside the house as best we can. So that was with the early days of COVID. Then we started to meet last year in September onwards. And the venue last year finished in July. So then we had a break in August and then came back in September. We met till Christmas. There wasn't enough people coming through the door, so I can't pay for a hire a room if there's not enough people. So it made me laugh by you saying about activity in Hastings, that Hastings loves an event. I've actually started to notice now in the last month or so through February, you know, late January, late February, that there's actually more and more events coming on now. I see them on Facebook. So that makes me feel good that, you know, potentially I could probably, if I find a venue. So anybody out there has got a venue in Hastings.
You should put it up on the Hastings Facebook pages and everything, and ask if someone's got a nice venue you can use. Because I think it's something that people really need. So they can people come to you as a, you know, just on their own and ask for help, and you help them with their decluttering just on a one-to-one basis as well?
Yes, that's how I do most of my work.
Okay.
So whether it's paperwork is apparently the worst. I've got some advice from an established declutterer when I started my business, and they said paperwork is the most time consuming because you have to go through every single piece of paper. And so I'm doing clothing and, you know, sorting out offices. Home offices these days is quite a popular one. Wardrobe decluttering is always happening. So yes, generally, unless I'm working with the individual and their partner, most of the time it's going to be with the actual individual.
Yeah. So, but you're hoping to get the Clutter Club back up and running. So
yes, at the minute we're meeting back online. It always used to be twice a month, but at the moment it's now once a month. So I think after having such a long career in meeting people face to face, I'm still struggling to get used to life on Zoom.
Yeah, it's different, isn't it? And as you said, because you're an energy worker, you're working with people's energy, and you need to tune into their energy to work out what it is, why they're stuck and why they're hoarding stuff. That there is a slight disconnect on Zoom. I mean, it's better, it's improving, but there is still that slight disconnect in energy.
I don't find it, actually.
Oh, good.
Yeah, during lockdown I did decluttering via Zoom, and initially I found it very difficult because I couldn't jump in and get started and help them. You know, I just
Yeah.
had to go do this, do that.
Yeah.
What about this? What about that? And how about moving that over there? And it just made me one step removed. And it was a bit strange. But the other things that I've been doing throughout lockdown is developing my mediumship. And although now I'm doing venues, occasionally I still do mediumship online. And I thought that would never work, but you'd be surprised it did.
Yeah. Yeah, I think online's great. As I
Yes.
say, I struggled from the energy point of view to begin with, but actually it's fine now. It works perfectly fine. So to wrap everything up, because it's
Wow.
been great, it's been
That
really
went quick, didn't it?
I know, it's been really great listening to you and your story, and I think a lot of people, it will resonate with a lot of people, and I think your positivity and your adaptability and resilience will really help a lot of people when they listen to you. What's your top tips then for decluttering?
Right, well, I've got 6.
Oh, perfect.
6 of these are my main ones. First of all, you start small. Don't plan to declutter the whole house or even the whole room. Just do one small corner.
Oh, that's excellent. That's
half a bookcase, one shelf of a bookcase, a corner of the room. Really just keep going. Whatever you want to think you're going to do, keep going down until it's manageable and not overwhelming. Declutter as you go. So, you know, get rid of things that you say to yourself, why have I got this? Why am I putting it back on the same shelf? You know, do I really want this? So just sort of declutter, and also that
gentle questioning.
Yes. So always have a charity bag ready, or at least a pile that you can add to and think, do I really want this? And also this is where you can bring in the one in, one out. Obviously, one in, one out is only ever going to keep you at the level that you're at. So if you can do 2 out, 1 in, or 10 out, 1 in, you're going to slowly declutter.
Yeah.
Next one was hot zones. So think of a fire. The closer you get to the fire, the hotter it is, the further away, the cooler it is. So put things that you need more often where you can get to them, at stuff on your worktops if you've got worktops in the kitchen. And then the Christmas stuff, or plastic beakers or something, you can put plastic beakers at the top of the cupboard, or you can put things in the loft that you only use once a year, like Christmas tree, that type of thing. So you want it further away as a zone, but make sure you don't put heavy stuff at the top of the cupboards, because plates don't bounce, but plastic boxes do.
Very sensible. Yeah.
You know, so when I think about hot zones, it's like I think about kitchen cupboards, sort of everyday practicality. You put your tea and coffee on the side, and your, you know, your milk, and maybe your plates, because I've got little plates down because my cupboard's tiny, and then just move up with heat. So the things that you don't need, they're going to be in a cool place, as in away. And people in Hastings have basements, don't they? Which I never had that in Hillingdon, so that's a different world as well. Also suit your lifestyle. You know, we are often given ideals of what, like you said, a home should look like. But what you need to do is bend the ideal around your lifestyle. So not your lifestyle around the ideal. That is such a good tip, because that's what we do, don't we? We're marketed to, and then we think we have to make our lives look like this perfect dream. And actually what we want to do is just cherry pick the bits that are going to work for us. Absolutely. And integrate those, as opposed to taking the whole thing. Yeah. The next 2 are very, very important. In fact, I'd love to put these at the beginning, but by working in this process, it gives you a start. Yeah, you step into it. My last 2 are keep going. So take a break, but keep going, keep chipping away, because it's so important. Do it regularly. If you run out of something, like you've run out of washing powder and you've used the last of your box, then put it on the list. Or you've just opened the last soap and you've got enough soap, or you found the end of the shampoo, then just put it on the list, so you're kind of doing it as you go. So don't buy 10 shampoos or 10 boxes of washing powder.
Oh dear, that's me. That's
you
me.
know so
I'm terrible. I always want to have one in hand.
Yes, yeah, there's nothing wrong with one in hand, but don't have 10 or 3 or 4.
Yeah.
So that's another way of keep going, because if you can see more room in your cupboards because you've used up the 4 or 5 things that you've had there, and you keep it into one in hand, then that's enough. But keep going, take breaks, because when it becomes, you have to watch out for the overwhelm. When it becomes too overwhelming, and you need to take a break, walk away, and then come back and keep going.
See, the thing with the one in hand is it's okay if it's things that don't have a shelf life.
Yeah. But
if it's something that's got a shelf life, it's not good.
No,
because you
absolutely.
end up, that thing goes out of date and then you never get to use it. And that's so wasteful. It's wasteful financially, and it's wasteful for the planet. And
Absolutely.
It's also wasteful for someone else who could have had that. So
we saw the crazy toilet rolls in
the crazy toilet rolls situation. But I was just thinking about that. I was thinking, actually, if you're like me, and I know, it's just a habit. Actually, if you want to do the one in hand, why don't you buy 2 when and do you know where it's come from? It's that horrible bog off thing. It's buy one get one free. Yeah. So we become kind of addicted to the buy one get one free thing. And what I just came into my head is like, well, what I could do instead of bringing that other one home is I could actually put that in the trolley that's going to the food bank. So I buy one and take that one home for me, and the other one that's going to go out of date in my cupboard, I put in the food bag trolley. That's what I could do.
Yeah.
Anyway, you just helped me.
Thank you. You're welcome. And finally, but most importantly, is to celebrate and acknowledge yourself, because it is so hard to declutter and change your life all at the same time. And you have to recognize that you did that. And if you've got a clear corner or a clear space on the bookcase and you've got rid of 5, 10 precious books, you did that. If you got rid of all those clothes you never usually wear, it's like, why did I buy that? It's the wrong color, or it's the wrong shape, it's the wrong size. Just say, look, I've got extra room in my wardrobe, I'm not weighed down. But coming back to your buy one get one free, but it also comes from the past, previous generations, like you said, after the war, they had nothing, didn't they? So as we've got more affluent as a country and a world, I guess, through more manufacturing, through better marketing and better processes, we go, oh, I buy one just in case, you don't
actually need to, do you? You're absolutely right. My mum is a terrible hoarder, and because of the war, because of the post-war years. So she'll say, oh, Lesley, I've got 10 pairs of the same black trousers. And I'm like, Mum, why do you need 10? And she'll say, you don't understand, it's because of the war.
No, it's the war.
And when we went into the pandemic, I could see myself becoming that person. It's like, well, I might not be able to go to a shop. And I can see a lot of people having that problem now post-pandemic, that because we were for a long time not allowed to leave our house and go to the shops with our free will and go and choose things at our free will, there is a tendency therefore to then go, well, I might need that. And that becomes really bad hoarding.
Yeah, I mean, also the shops have their part to play in it, because they've reduced their stock lines. There's now less stock in the shops, there's less choice, and that doesn't help anybody, because pre-pandemic we could literally have anything we wanted.
Mm.
And if you ordered off the likes of Amazon, it'd come the next day and it was in your house, it was there. But yes, it all comes from a fear of lack.
Yeah.
You know,
yeah.
we hang on to things because it might come in handy. We might need that one day.
Yeah.
Those are all the emotional things.
And I think the thing you said about, you know, just in earlier is like, just stand back and consciously think, gently question yourself about why you're doing it. You don't have to be horrible to yourself or hard,
No.
or bullying, and, you know, be cross. Don't be cross with yourself. Just
Absolutely.
be kind and go, why am I like, I've just thought, why am I doing that? And I know I often go to my husband, we need to clear that cupboard out because I'm sure half of that's out of date. That's terrible. And now I'm thinking, now I'm kind of understanding why I do it, and I'm thinking, how can I find a better way, a better resolution to that? And definitely the food banks is the way to donate.
Definitely.
Or now with the Ukraine crisis, you know, the Red Cross and everything,
definitely,
they'll be looking for that. So
in the early days of decluttering my home, because obviously I have had to go literally through my whole house, when it came to my kitchen cupboards and the one under the sink, I had got loads of stuff and it went to food banks. You know, everything from excessive amount of cleaning cloths to excessive amount of cleaning chemicals that I don't need, and they were sitting there because I never used them.
Yeah, and they sell you these cleaning cloths in like backs of 10, don't they? They're not helping.
No.
They're not helping, but then they're not there to help us, are they? They're there to take our money. They're there to take our money. That's what they're there for. That's what they do. It's down to us to manage that.
The pandemic was or is a great leveler. You know, we clearly got a bit carried away with the possibility of everything that we could have. Now, with the reduced lines that are in the shopping shops, we can be a bit more sort of practical with it. Instead of having 5 choices or 10 choices of tissues. I mean, a couple of weeks ago, I couldn't get my regular tissues because there must have been a supply problem. But prior to the pandemic, supply problems were something the shop had, and the consumer would never see it because the standards were so high, weren't they?
Yeah.
But now everybody's a little bit more open and saying, right, well, we know the tissues come from this place, and we know that there's not so many people to bring them from there to here. We're accepting that fruit is finally seasonal again. You know, fruit has always been all year round, hasn't it?
Yeah, you could have exactly what you wanted, and now the prices are being affected by supply chain, as you say. No, I think they're the massive takeaways is like, it's okay. It's okay. We all do it. We all do it in some form. It's evolutionary. It's not just down to you. It is evolutionary. It's come through your DNA.
Yes.
So be kind to yourself.
That's also, is it globally as well? Yeah. You know, it's not just our family line. It's also globally, you know, through generations of the world.
Yeah.
And
industrialization and everything that's happened. Yeah.
People have been through 2 world wars already, and different conflicts and different hardships. You know, it's gonna
it affects you, doesn't it? It affects you, and I think that's important to recognize. But as you say, just be gentle and kind with yourself.
Yes. I mean, you know about Marie Kondo, who says to hold up and say something, do I want this? You know, does this bring me joy? You know, not everybody has the time and the discipline to do that with every single item, but you know, it's just if things come up, if you've changed, we're coming up to spring, hopefully, and then summer. And then people will change their wardrobes over, won't they? They'll take out their winter clothes and they'll put in their spring, summer clothes. I guess some people who've got 4 wardrobes would do it 4 times a year, but most people just do it twice a year. So maybe when you finally get rid of your winter clothes, ready, pack them up for next year or move them to a different wardrobe or whatever, you could thin out those. Did I wear that this year?
Yes, that's really good, isn't it? Because I do that. I like swap my wardrobes over, and it's like, instead of just automatically just putting everything away, just consider it before you put it away and think, am I going to wear that again? Did I wear it? Could I give that to somebody else who might benefit from it right now? Instead of it sitting in a plastic box in my cupboard, actually, I could give that to someone else who might benefit from that immediately, and I don't need it, and I probably won't ever need it again.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's being thoughtful, isn't it? Being thoughtful. As you say, there's someone else who says, I don't, if it's either got to be beautiful or useful, isn't there? I don't know who that is who says that.
I don't know who that is.
There's someone who says it's either got to be beautiful or useful, and if it doesn't fit those two criteria, then it has to go.
That's pretty good, isn't it? Yeah,
that's also a good one. Yeah. Because you do need beautiful things around you. It's not just about practicalities. It's not just about having stuff just because it's practical. It's if it makes you feel better, if it makes you feel happy when you look at it, that's okay too. As I say, not to be unkind to ourselves, but be thoughtful about the resources of the world.
Yeah,
they are finite.
Yes.
We are getting to the edge of them.
We are
getting to the edge of them.
You know, it's a good,
being thoughtful.
Although we've all gone through an awful lot in the last 2 years, it's not a bad place for us to go to be in now. Now that we're coming out the other side, we can appreciate what we had in 2019, and how everything was so disposable and how life was just at our fingertips. Now, we get to appreciate that a little bit more.
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you so much, Karen. I have enjoyed talking to you so much. You're a very wise woman.
Oh, thank you.
A very wise and a beautiful soul, and I have really enjoyed talking to you. Thank you so much for sharing your experience. As I say, I think that'd be really powerful for people, and then also those tips as well, because we are in a pivotal moment in the world, and also coming out of the post-pandemic. It's important that we don't get back into our old bad habits of allowing the marketing men to influence us heavily on how we behave. We need to take ownership of our behavior a little bit, and live a lighter life.
Yes, a little bit more mindfully.
Bit more mindfully. Thank you so much. So if you want to get in contact with Karen, all her details will be on the end of this video, so you'll be able to get hold of her if you need to have some extra help with decluttering. And if you want to join the Clutter Club, if you're in and around the Hastings area, then again, getting in contact with Karen, and let stuff go.
Thank you very much, Lesley.
Stuff go. Thanks, Karen, and we'll see you all again soon.
Great, wonderful. Take care.